Hey Internet, wanted to make another video blog before the end of the year came. So, God, I can't remember when I last did a full-on video blog, but since then I bought an iPhone 4. I upgraded my old 3GS to this. Here's the old 3GS. I really didn't think there'd be that big of a difference in the screens, but the Retina display, the 960 by 640 display in this is pretty crazy. It's I can see like the numbers in the faces of the clock app. I can read the numbers very legibly, which I couldn't on this, and that's a pretty good indication of the resolution on this. And because I'm going to release my next game on all the current iOS platforms, I needed to be able to test it on this too, so I can see right away that the FPS is a lot slower than the old device, because it's got 4 times as many pixels to fill, and the performance is actually slightly better than an iPad on the iPhone 4. So now that I have those performance things out of the way, I can start to tailor my content towards the limitations of these high-res devices. So I can't use lots of transparent things because those effects really slow down on the iPhone 4 and the iPad. But now that I know that if I get it running well on the iPad, it will also run as well or a little bit better on the iPhone 4. So that's good. Let's see here. So this is what I got. I'm probably not going to record videos with it because I have this the Canon T1i to record with, but still I like it. It's a lot thinner. Well, not a lot thinner, but it's thinner than the old one, and it's easier to hold because it's more squared off. But in any case, I use a case with it. So that's cool. Well, even the box is smaller for the iPhone 4. So they thought of everything. Okay, so I'm actually I've kind of halted production on my RPG for the moment because I'm actually going to make a prequel to it. Because I saw that the engine that I make called Unity is holding a contest for the online game web portal Congregate.com, and essentially they just added support for my engine in Congregate. So before it used to be Flash only games, and now you can add Unity 3D games to it. So they're having a little competition that good games will win cash, essentially, and you'll still get your game published on the portal. So I'm making a very short prequel to my RPG. I'm aiming to be like start to finish is 15 minutes or so. It's kind of a God of War / Ninja Gaiden type beat 'em up where you just basic attacks with enemies. It's more like a dry run of some of the systems I want to make for my RPG than it is just a full-fledged separate game. But it will be a good primer for a few of the main characters, and the main antagonist of the RPG are going to feature prominently in this. So I'm going to put together the cutscene systems, the way I make characters, and some of the world. Those will all carry over into the RPG. And because it's going to be on this free web portal, the game itself is going to be free, so anybody can play it. You can play it on your Mac, your PC. I'm also going to take it after I post it on there and port it to the iOS devices. So it will be free on those as well, and I'll like have iAds somewhere in the program to justify the cost of doing all that. But the end product will be completely free to the consumers. So there's that. And of course there's going to be some limitations for this. Of course the biggest one is time. The end of the competition, the end of the period you can submit the actual game is on February 15th. So that's a bit over a month and a half from now. And I don't know, I may or may not be able to get it done, but whether or not I get it done within the time frame allowed doesn't really matter too much to me. I'd really like to get it done before then, but even if I don't end up getting it done on time, I'm still going to release it on Congregate. I'm still going to port it to iOS, so either way, this thing is going to get made. And then other limitations, the web player can only be 20 megabytes tops, and it has to be able to load the game, be playable within 60 seconds. So I have to fit in, I have to shuffle around when things get loaded and what gets loaded, so that the player can actually get into, if not gameplay, then at least like the opening cinematics, because it pretty much starts with cutscenes. So I have to figure out a way to get all that loaded, and I did some size tests, and it seems like all the stuff I want to put into this should be able to fit into 20 megabytes, since most of it is made up of the textures of the models. That's going to be the biggest part, and because it's only it's 600 by 450, so I can make the textures pretty compressed, so it shouldn't be an issue, but you never know. Things could get out of hand later. So that's essentially what I'm working on right now. What I'm doing now is doing the 3D art for it, because I have a prototype of the gameplay already up and running. So now what I need to do is get models of my main characters and some enemies, because in order to progress my gameplay prototype further, I need to have models to work with of the actual characters, because I need to know how long the swing animations for swords will be, how many frames the magic attacks will be, and get all that tied together so I can see how that meshes and make changes to my gameplay if necessary. So my dad and I bought a new scanner for him yesterday, so he gave me his old flatbed scanner. It's on the floor under my desk. So essentially what I'm doing is I'm just making drawings on, I do my rough idea sketching on these big pieces of graph paper, and once I'm happy with the rough layout of them, I'll take these tracing sheets and I'll trace over just the parts that I want, and then I put this into the scanner and I scan it into my main work PC, and then from there I can touch it up in Photoshop and do whatever I need to do. And then I can take that and put it into my 3D program and use it as a template. So I just basically outline it with the points and then fill it in and then make it three-dimensional by extruding or mirroring or whatever I need to do. So that's it. Here's a rough sketch of what the RPG's continent is going to look like. I'm still fleshing out what parts are going to go where and what the gameplay flow is, essentially. But that's partly what this all this is, because I'm trying to figure out where all the mountains will be. So essentially, I'm making an overlay for each different type of zone that's going to be on the continent. So that's all that, and I got some other sketches for the prequel over here, but there won't be too many different areas for the short little prequel game, because I need to keep it small, and if I'm doing vast, expansive landscapes, and that's going to take up a significant amount of space for the game that I really can't afford to do. But I will have some pretty cool locations that I've worked up for just this prequel. So getting all that made and getting some of the special effects made has been kind of tough. I've spent a few days trying to get some spell effects working. Like, for example, one of the things I needed to do was the main antagonist in the prequel and in the RPG can suck the life force out of somebody. So I needed to have somebody's model go from a regular hand and then progressively become this burnt out kind of look, because the life is being sucked out of them from their fingertips. So I need to have it go from a regular arm progressively towards like a burnt one, like that. So that was kind of tough, but I got to work. It's if you'd like to know, I got it done through a ramp, essentially. I painted a gradient from white through gray up until black at the very top of where I want that effect to end, and then I just changed the blending values up along there so that it would blend on the fly between the two textures. So that's how I got that to work. So enough about that. You'll see more of that, and I'll probably post, like if people want to play the beta version of it or alpha version of it, that'll probably be on Twitter, so look out for that. And my classes finally ended for the fall last week or the week before. I did pretty well. I got an A in all my classes, though it's not official for one of them because my video game design professor hasn't posted the grades yet, but I'm fairly sure I got an A in that. So that means I got an A in C programming, an A in Java programming, and highly likely an A in video game design. So that's cool. It's my first 4.0 ever, which is kind of crazy if you know my past college exploits. So yeah, in the fall, or spring rather, I'm taking a few more classes. So that'll be video game history, which is kind of like just an overview of the video game industry. Not going to be the hardest class in the world. Video game programming, which is actually DirectX programming. So it's taking the DirectX library for the PC and building an engine essentially from scratch. Like you have to program in how things are drawn, and essentially that's what this class is going to focus on. Not so much like artificial intelligence or actual gameplay, it's just getting stuff drawn on screen. And then a C++ class, it's just C++ programming. I got an A in C, and C++ is just object-oriented C, so it shouldn't be too bad. And then finally a Mac programming class, which is Macs use their own different type of programming called Objective-C. And that's, again, it's very similar to C++. It's just specific to Macs. So I'll learn that, and through that I should also be able to learn how to write native iPhone and iOS stuff, because it uses the same type of language with it. So that should do it for this video blog. It's gotten kind of long, but oh well. Alright, so thanks for watching, and I'll see you next year.